Okay, sorry for that break in transmission. I'm back live. I hope you can see me. I hope you can hear me. Welcome to our IG live this evening. Our guest is already waiting, and I'm excited that we are here in this month of June. I was saying before we went off that we've had 5 episodes so far, and in the first 4 episodes we showcased food products, and this is the sixth episode. But in the last episode we showcased jewelry, um, value addition to gemstones and metals, and it was a very, very interesting session. You can catch a replay of the sessions that we've had before now. If you look at my IG, you can catch a replay. My guest is already in, and I'm going to go live with her now. Let me go live with her. Um, I'm just trying to go live with my guest. I know she's in already. Um, I can't see your request, but I'm trying to send a request for you to go live with me. Okay, I can see your request. Aha. Right. So, um, yes. Good
Finally,
evening, Ma.
good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Ma. You look very radiant this evening.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited, super, super excited to have you here this evening.
I'm
Um,
excited to be here. Thank you for the
okay.
invite.
Yeah, I'm so excited you could make it. Um, I know that we met a while back, but I followed you on IG. I see your work, I see what you do, and you have done very, very well in the leather value chain, adding value to leather. And we must just acknowledge and applaud your consistency so far over the years.
Thank you.
So let's just get into this. Um, okay, so today my guest is Monalisa Abimbola Azeh. She obtained her bachelor's in law from the University of Lagos, and she was called to bar in 1985. When I saw this, I was like, oh my God.
I know.
She
It's been
worked
a
as a
while.
lawyer for several years and even ran her own law firm. In 2022, she founded her leather brand, Mona Matthews, which designs and retails high quality leather shoes and bags that are handmade. And she has run it successfully since then. She attended Faith Foundation Aspiring Entrepreneurs, Emerging Entrepreneurs Program in 2022 and 2019, respectively. She also attended the Lagos Business School, EDC, in 2009. She served on the federal government Leather Reformation Committee, which was mandated to create a leather policy for Nigeria. She's a Faith Foundation volunteer and trained mentor. She's also on the faculty of Joseph Business School, which is an international faith-based business school with campuses in several countries. It's headquartered in Chicago in the US. So please go to the comment section and welcome my guest. I'm super, super excited to have you here, ma. Very, very excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here too.
Okay, ma. Okay, ma. So tell us a bit about your background. You're a lawyer. You know, in this part of the world, we say you are the law, and you practiced for more than 15 years. What was that experience like?
I left university very young. I graduated at, I think, 20, and by 21, I was called to the bar, you know. So for me, I could say it was like a journey in self-discovery. Because when I started, I was very enthusiastic. I remember the first law firm I worked in, my principal wasn't taking litigation. She was just essentially doing corporate law, you know. And our office was in Western House, and I really wanted to go to court, you know. So I said to her, we have to go to court. We can't just be writing. We have to practice, you know. Because I grew up watching, you know, all those legal dramas, Perry Mason, and in that era. And it looks so exciting on television, you know, watching the lawyers argue the cases in court and all of that. But I got bored, to be honest. I got bored very easily. And even before then, I had been, for my youth corps, I was posted to NIDB, which became Bank of Industry. And I was working in the legal department. And I was super, super bored. I was like, what? I can't wake up every day knowing exactly what I'm going to do, you know. So I just asked them to please just give me a letter of rejection and let me go back to my law firm where I'd done my law office attachments, you know. And then after about 2 years in the law firm, I decided to just step out. So I resigned and I went to set up my own law firm, you know. So I guess you could say I've always been adventurous, you know. I've always been like a go-getter, someone who I don't really like to take no for an answer. I always feel that the possibilities are limitless, you know. And I guess you could say I was brave, you know. So I set up my own law firm. After a few years, I think maybe another 2 years, I realized that I didn't know enough to run a robust practice. You know, I wasn't satisfied with the kind of returns I was getting and the work I was able to do and all of that. So what I did was I spoke to a friend of mine and I said, look, I want to get back into practice. I feel that I have much more to learn, you know. So she told me that there was a senior lawyer at the time who was looking for a junior, you know. So I had an interview with her and I told her that, listen, I already have my practice and I already have clients, you know, and I don't want to give up my practice. But I'm also conscious of the fact that I need to learn more, you know. And she was very fine with that. Mrs. Jackson allowed me to come and work with her and to also run my own practice, you know. And if I had a matter or if I needed to go to the lands registry or whatever it was, I would just say to her, I'm going to the lands registry, and she would let me go. And but I learned a lot from her, you know. So I worked with her, I think, for another 2 or 3 years. And then I was more comfortable and more confident. I knew that I had picked up a few more things. And then I said to her I was ready to go. And I remember when I was leaving, she actually gave me a few of the cases that I was handling. She let me have them, and she said when I concluded, the clients should pay me the fees. You know, and that was really great. Yes.
Well done, well done. So at what point did you then desire, what sparked that desire to go into shoes and bags? You were a lawyer, so what was that transition between law and shoes and bags?
I usually say to people that I think part of it must have coincided with maybe the devaluation of the naira and some kind of downturn in our economy. And the reason was because I've always had white feet, right? And it was becoming more and more difficult to find shoes that fitted me properly. And I also have one foot that is bigger than the other. So when I was much younger, when I first started practicing law and all of that, there were shops that were selling real leather Italian shoes, real leather shoes from Spain and Brazil, So I could get real leather and they would expand and they would fit me. But I think when our economy went down, there were fewer shoes coming in from Italy, and the good ones that were coming in were very expensive. And I mean, and then more shoes were now coming in from China, Dubai, and they were not real leather. Do you understand? And so it was difficult to get big sizes. It was difficult to get comfortable shoes. So my foray into shoemaking really was to meet my own personal needs. So I noticed that if you look around you, your driver, the messenger in your office, male staff, junior level staff, were wearing real leather shoes. So I started asking questions. I started asking, where'd you get your shoes from, and all of that. And people would they would say to me, oh, I had them made. A shoemaker made them. Actually, this is real leather. So I just kept on asking questions. And then I found out that there was actually an underground leather industry. When I say underground, a lot of people were making shoes. There was a market in Mushin where they were selling real leather coming in from Italy, and all of that. And there were trained shoemakers. So apparently part of what had happened was that the companies that were making shoes in those days, the manufacturers, the Bata shoes, Leonard's, and whoever else was making shoes at that time. Because of the downturn of our economy, just about like what we're going through now again, those companies closed down. You understand? They closed down. So some of their shoemakers were now running their own businesses. Some of them sold off some of their equipment. Some sold some of their shoe molds, and things like that. But a leather market had developed, and so there's a whole market where you can buy everything you need to make shoes from start to finish, So it was just a journey of discovery for me. And then I remember the first pair that I made, the shoemaker said to me that he wasn't going to make shoes for women, that he doesn't make shoes for women, that our wahala was too much, So I forced him. I said, you have to make these shoes. You have to make the shoes for me. So he made me these shoes, and they were so ugly. They were really frightening. I wore them, and then a friend of mine saw them, and he was like, where do you get these ugly looking shoes from? I said, I made them. He said, please, let me introduce you to someone else who can make better shoes. So he introduced me to a shoemaker that was actually making shoes for women, and then I now started designing shoes for myself. I really wasn't thinking of a business at the time. And then, so I made the shoes, and then my mom saw them, and she was like, oh, I like your shoes. Where did you get them from? And I was like, I made them. And she was like, made them bow, as in, it was strange. And I'm talking, this was before the millennium. This was 2009, 2010, what have I said? What's the one before the 2000? 1919. I've been 1999. I don't even know again. Can you imagine? 1999, yes. And then I said 1999, 2000, that period, And then she said I should make her a pair. I made her a pair. A friend of mine took them, and all of that. And then people just started asking me to make shoes for them. I did it for a while, then the shoemaker disappointed, so I just packed up, and I wasn't doing it as a business. At the time, I was still running my law firm and doing one or two other things. Then I got to a point, I think I was about 39 years old, and I just sat down one day and I was thinking to myself that, Pomo, what will you say you've done with your life? What exactly would you have said you've accomplished, with your life and everything? How you just, because I feel because I left school very early, I really didn't have any direction. I really didn't have any ambition. I was just, and life was easy for me. I practiced law, I was selling property, I was making money. There no big deal. I wanted a car, I bought a car. Things were just easy, so to speak. But I got to that point where I felt, what am I going to be remembered for? What monumental thing am I going to do in this life? Do you understand? And so I got to a point where I was reflecting, I prayed about it, and all of that. I spoke to a mentor and he was like, pray about it. And I prayed about it, and lo and behold, it was this shoemaking matter that I had done and abandoned. And so eventually, I decided, okay, let me go into this shoemaking thing. For some reason, the law part of my life had lost its luster, so to speak. I really wasn't feeling the law anymore, so to speak. So it wasn't hard to give up, to be honest. It really wasn't hard for me to give up. I remember I said, I love challenges. I love discovering things. I love, finding out things, how things work, and all of that. That really excites me. So I had the idea. I didn't have any money particularly saved up or anything at this point. But I had an idea that I could outsource production. So I went and talked to a friend of mine. I said, listen, I want to go into shoemaking as a business. And this is the model I want to use. I want to just be the one to design and retail. I don't want to go into production. I want to design and retail. And he said, oh, it's a good idea. He said, Nike is the biggest shoe brand in the world. And they don't have any factory anywhere in the world, that they just design and market, and do the retail and all of that. So he said, so that's a fantastic way of doing it, modus operandi, how do you say it. And then he suggested that I should go to a business school. And that was in 2001, late 2001. So 2002, I went to a business school. I went to Faith Foundation, and I started my business sort of like simultaneously with my learning at Faith Foundation. And I remember I was in the classroom one day that even the name Mona Matthews, came to be.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's a very, very interesting story. Especially that part of, wanting the shoemaker to make the shoe. And, he said he doesn't make for women and all of that. And, I have found out that most times, in trying to solve your own problem, you then
Absolutely.
discover that other people have that challenge. Because when you're talking about big feet now, I remember someone who had big feet, and immediately she finds one part her size, she's going to buy like 3 or 4 pairs all at once, because she might not find
Them again.
her size again. Yes. Right.
Yes.
So in trying to solve that problem for you, you have created a business out of it, and that's what happens to other people. So you talked about someone is dreaming of her royal blue fancy shoes and bag. Okay. 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 She has been dreaming of it since almost 2012. Has it been made already, or she's still dreaming about it?
No, I think she's still dreaming.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about where she can find you later on. So according to this model that you are running, it looks like you didn't take any special trainings in making shoes and bags. I don't know, did you take any special training in making shoes and bags, or you just ran with the outsource model?
I didn't take any training with making shoes and bags.
Okay.
When I made the inquiries, I found out that the people who were making the kind of shoes that I wanted to sell, who were able to produce for me, they had been making shoes for 10, 15 years. I remember I said I was already 39 when I started.
Yeah.
So I knew I didn't have the time to go and learn and start making. But I also knew that, in somehow it came to me that it's not about me making the shoes. It's about me understanding the business of shoemaking, understanding the business of leather, and finding producers and matching the producers with the buyers, with the customers, with the people who have the need for the products,
Mm.
you know, and essentially that's what I've done for so long.
Okay, ma. Okay, ma. Your products, are you limited to just shoes and bags? I know that you have shoes and bags, or you make other leather accessories.
Um, we do belts, you know,
Okay.
we do leather belts as well. Um, so the way we run, we have a showroom where you can walk in and buy stuff. You can also order. So we do souvenirs, we do leather souvenirs, we do
Okay.
wallets and things like that. But those kind of things, we make them on request, depending on what
Okay.
the customers want. Yes,
Okay. Okay. So you have the orders and you also have ready to wear.
yes, yes, we do.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I was going to ask you about big feet, but you have spoken to it already. So those who can't find their shoe sizes, and there are many, there are many,
There are many,
especially
and
for women.
it's not just big feet. Also, there are people who have extremely narrow feet. You know, their
Yes,
size,
yes.
the length of their feet is maybe like a 41, but when they wear 41, it's too wide. In fact, they find out that
Mm,
they have to wear maybe like a 39. But you now find out that the shoe itself will be too short and their toes will be hanging out or their heel is jutting out at the back, you know. Then you
mm,
have people like me who are the opposite, where the upper part of my foot is really wide, but the length is
mm,
just a 41, but the upper part of it is 43, 44, 43 on my left foot, 43 or 44 on my right foot, you know, and there are people like that. We also have special people who have some kind of problem with their limbs. Maybe one leg is higher than the other, you know. I had a Caucasian customer who had one foot longer than the other. One of his feet
mm.
was a 44 in length, the other one was a 45. So I asked him, how did you used to do? He said he will buy two pairs of shoes. He will buy a 44 and then he will buy a 45 and he wear the 44 on the 44 foot and 45. Can you imagine? You know, so it was when
So
I started that I
he
realized that
has two pairs. He will always
yes,
buy
you
two pairs of the
always buy
same
two
shoe.
pairs of the same shoe in different sizes to be able to wear
Mm,
comfortable shoes. Otherwise, one would be too tight or one would be too loose, you know. We also have
mm,
people that we have people, women, who is just an age factor. I remember the
mm.
late Francesca Emmanuel, you know, she was a very stylish woman up till her last years, you know, and she was a customer. When she first came in her 70s, she was wearing heels. She was still able to wear heels, you know. But as she grew older, she needed to go lower on her heels. So we made a lot of shoes for her, and then she brought them back and she had us lower the heels, you know. So
Mm,
there are older women who are still fashionable, they're healthy, but they can't afford to wear 6 inches, 4 inches anymore. So one of the things we do is we make beautiful shoes in comfortable sizes, you know, for those kind of women, you know, yeah, and so on.
wow, wow, that's lovely. So you've described a wide range of people that you make shoes for. So for those who have big feet, who have narrow feet, who have one feet bigger than the other, or who have challenges with their feet, you don't need to go abroad any longer. Mona Matthews is here for you. Um, okay, so how do you ensure that the products that you create are excellent quality, especially since you are outsourcing them? Are there any tests that they go through to ascertain their quality?
Okay, we have a very impressive feedback mechanism from our
Hmm,
customers.
hmm,
We love feedback. We encourage our customers to give us feedback. Sometimes when we even make shoes for you, we call you afterwards, maybe after the event or something, and we ask you, what was your experience with your shoes, And then we also let our customers know that if anything happens to your shoes, please bring them back to us, because that's how we know if there's a mistake in the production process. Do you understand? So we always want our customers to enjoy the experience of owning our shoes. Do you understand? Then where we can, we test run shoes. My staff are tired of me. If I make a new design, sometimes I would wear them, I said I need to wear them. I need to experience these shoes so that I'll know how the customers would feel when they're wearing them. But beyond all of that, we use very experienced craftsmen. And the way we operate with them is if the shoes they make for us don't meet our standards, they know that we will not accept them. So more often than not, so we have those checks and balances already in place. But even if something passes through without our knowledge or something that we didn't envisage happens, then we have that callback mechanism where we give our customers the assurance that please, whatever it is. Do you know that if customers wear shoes for 5 years, 4 years, and they bring them back, not because they were bad, but because of normal wear and tear, and we revive the shoes and everything. So our customers are comfortable that if they get a pair of shoes from Mona Matthews, they can go to sleep because we've got their backs, And then with the shoemakers, we let them know that, look, this is the quality of shoemakers and of customers that we have. These are the kind of people that wear our shoes. We have state commissioners, we have first ladies, we have vice chancellors, and professors, all kinds of people wearing our shoes. We have senior advocates of Nigeria, high court judges, court of appeal judges, my colleagues, my colleagues are now SANs, high court judges.
Yes.
In the Supreme Court, So, and I let my shoemakers know that these are the kind of people you are making shoes for. You are making shoes for people that can get on a plane, go abroad and buy their shoes, So if they're buying from us, we must give them that quality and that assurance that they would always find good quality at Mona Matthews.
Wow, good stuff. Very good stuff. Okay, so what are some of the mistakes that you've made along the way? You've run Mona Matthews for more than 20 years now. What are some of the mistakes that you think that you've made over the course of the business?
Okay, well, one that really stands out for me was when ShopRite first came into Nigeria. They came in with the game store. And at the time when they came in, they realized that the federal government of Nigeria had banned the importation of shoes in Nigeria. And so they were looking for a company that could make shoes for them to sell in their store, because sales of shoes is a major part of the game store business.
Yeah.
We couldn't import the shoes, So they came to us and they made some orders from us. And I think, first of all, I was too overwhelmed with the idea that a whole game store is ordering shoes from me, and all of that. And then they came in and then they chose their designs, and we made for them. And one of the mistakes I felt I made at that time was that I allowed them to choose styles. I wasn't firm enough in suggesting styles for them, because even though I was still young in the industry, I had a fair idea of the kind of shoes that Nigerians like to wear. It's not enough for you to come from South Africa and order shoes that look nice to South Africans. We're Nigerians. We have our own style. We have our own taste, But I just worked to order. And they were able to sell some, but unfortunately, they were not able to sell a lot of them, And when they came, they were like, okay, you have to make the shoes, you have to have them already in stock. You have to make large quantities of them, and stock them, and then when we order, you just supply. You can't just be making when we make the order, So I went ahead and I produced quite a lot according to their order, and then somewhere along the line, they said they didn't want again. You don't finish. They said they didn't want anymore. and we had this whole lot of shoes, that so that was one mistake, and you learn from your mistakes, and I said, if I ever get
Hmm.
that kind of opportunity again, I'm going to say to them, I suggest this, I suggest this, I suggest this. I'm going to put it into writing, and I'm going to let them understand that this is the kind of thing that you should do. Beyond that, I mean, we make mistakes all the time, but we learn from them and we grow.
Wow, lovely stuff. I can
Thank
just
you.
imagine at that time the excitement of having game come, and you're just like, wow, this is a very big client,
Yeah.
and but ultimately you are the one who is in the market here, and
Yes.
you could tell what people have been buying over the years. They are a shop. They retail. They don't stay. They don't live in Nigeria. So
No.
I'm sure. But of course, you've moved on from there. You were on the federal government leather reformation committee, mandated to create a leather policy for Nigeria. Do you want to tell us a little about that experience?
Yes. So at a point, I mean, you're an expert. You know that leather was like the second highest foreign exchange earner for Nigeria
For
after
Nigeria,
oil, after crude
yes,
oil.
yes.
And but the leather that was being exported, very little value was
Overall.
being added to it. Yes, raw leather. So the federal government
Mm,
wanted to turn that around, and they wanted to bring us to a point where we could develop the leather value chain
mm,
and come into a space where leather was made in um, maybe produced in the east and then marketed in the southwest, and distributed all over, and they wanted us to add value to our leather before we export it.
mm,
Um, and that has improved over the years. I also know that somewhere in Lagos Island, they send out trailer loads of made in Nigeria shoes to the west coast of Nigeria.
yeah.
You know, I also learned that what we call Italian leather is actually leather that left from
Yeah.
Sokoto,
Yes.
found its way to Morocco for tanning,
Yeah.
and then ended
Yeah.
up in Italy, and then comes back to us as handbags and shoes at a
Hmm.
premium.
Hmm.
And so the federal government was essentially, and this was way back during President Goodluck's era,
Hmm.
was trying very hard to, sort of like have a policy that could bring all the players together in such a way that we would just essentially get to add value to our own leather and then export
Hmm.
it and as much as possible with it.
Hmm. Do you think the policy, do you think it was successful? Did we move forward considerably?
I believe we have moved forward. I believe we have moved forward. If I look at my own 22 years journey, then the number of players in the industry have increased tremendously. I mean,
Hmm.
brands have come up. A lot more brands have come up since then. You
Hmm.
have things like the Lagos Leather Fair. You understand? You
Yes.
have you have big names, and you have people recognize Nigerian leather brands today. If I could mention a number of names that people would recognize. Number one, number two, um, you and I are now more comfortable wearing made in Nigerian shoes. We're more
Yes.
comfortable now carrying Nigerian handbags, wearing a Nigerian made belt. When I first started, my contemporaries then, I should I even call them my contemporaries. I said they were like on an underground leather industry, because people were putting fake designer names. They were selling the labels. They still do. They were selling the
Hmm.
labels in the market. So they will finish making the shoes, then they will put Gucci. They will finish making the shoes, then they'll put Louis Vuitton. In fact, I saw a meme online recently. The upper part of the shoes had Gucci, the sole had Louis Vuitton, the strap had, the buckle had another name. It had like three designer names all slapped together, you know. So in those days, people felt that customers did not appreciate them and
Hmm.
all the work they put into making the shoes, and they were not paying them enough for the work that they were doing. So what they were doing
Hmm.
essentially was putting those fake designer names and then selling them at the back of Mandilas, and all of that. In fact, I understand that there's a market in Dubai, or there's the possibility that you could go to Dubai and buy made in Nigeria shoes and bring them back to Nigeria without knowing that they are made in Nigeria. So, but
Oh,
back to your
wow.
point, I believe that the leather policy was eventually launched under the Buhari administration. The vice president, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, actually came and did a proper launch of the leather policy. And I know that
Okay.
the government is really trying very hard to make it work. Apart from the government, the private sector also, we're all trying in our little bits, little corners and things like that. What really needs to happen is for us to have a huge injection of cash, investors, and not just in the production side, in terms of the finished products, the finished leather goods. We need players, people producing the zippers we use, the what do they call it? Components, the shoemaking components, the various components,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
soles, the heels. At the moment, everything that we use to make shoes, everything is imported. The only
Oh,
thing that
wow.
is made in Nigeria, what we make shoes with, is our Nigerian hands that make the shoes. That's all.
Hmm.
Everything else is imported. There is leather that comes from the north down south, and all of that. But it's not a lot. And for us to demand huge volumes of that leather, uh, they're not ready to, the factories that are tanning and exporting are not ready to deal with this small quantities that, those of us that are making are demanding. They want us to, they need us to have large demands from them so that they can produce for us. Do you get what I'm saying here? So
Hmm.
each one of, so there's a lot that still needs to happen. But the good thing about it is that there's also opportunity. You understand? There's a lot of opportunity. So some people can come together and make a much larger factory. Do you understand? There's space for that. Nigeria has over 200 and something million people in it.
Hmm.
We have how
Yeah.
many school children, we have the military, we have the armed forces. So there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot that we can do. And there's space for investment, both international and local investment in the leather space.
Okay, so what you're just saying is that the leather value chain is not yet fully developed, and there are spaces for players to come in into the leather value chain, and not
Absolutely.
just you know I know that a lot of people always think about the front end product. So when we're having this conversation now, people are thinking about Mona Matthews, and they are thinking about also having a shoe brand, but they can play across the value chain, not necessarily having a shoe brand, but just playing across the value chain. Somebody makes the soles, someone makes the buckles, someone makes the machines, and all of that activity that goes into producing the shoes. And so we
Yes.
are saying to people here right now, there's space in the leather value chain, like there are spaces in other value chains.
Yes.
So just look at the value chain. Where do you want to play? Okay, I'd like to ask, what are some of the challenges that you've encountered in selling your products locally? or selling them even internationally? What's the acceptability? What was the acceptability like at the beginning? I know that it has improved greatly, but at the beginning and now, what was the acceptability then versus now?
Okay, I think the first thing was to get to pay amount of money for the products, right? I
Mm,
found out that people who were unlearned, people who why is it costing so much? You know, so that was the
mm,
first hurdle. Because handmade shoes they're a lot of work. It's a lot of work to make handmade shoes. Meanwhile, overseas, they value handmade shoes. They value handmade anything. Do you understand?
mm,
But because
yeah.
we have a lot of artisans, we're used to going to the tailor and making our clothes, going to the hairdresser and doing our hair, going to the jeweler and we're used to it. So it was a bit commonplace for us. So that was the
Mm,
first hurdle. Why you said these shoes are made in Nigeria. Why are they costing so much? That's number one. So I have to talk and talk and talk, and I still talk, but I don't mind because now those who have experienced the brand, they know. I mean, I saw a lady recently at a Chevron event, and she works in Chevron, and so she's not poor. So she's not keeping the shoes because she can't afford to buy another one. She's keeping them because they're still good quality and they've stood the test of time. Do you get? So
mm,
that was the first
yeah.
thing. The second thing was in artisans, shoemakers, to do all the things I wanted to do over a period of time. There were
Mm,
for the male shoes, even up till now, you can snap your fingers and get very good shoemakers that make men's shoes. But for women's shoes, it was a lot harder. The
mm,
components are not available. Even if you found the components, they were usually outdated. They were, not no longer fashionable. They'll be selling heels that my grandmother wore, and that kind of a thing. I remember at a point we had to go to Aba to make our own soles. We made these lovely wooden soles, and women
mm,
really loved them, and all of that. Colors, leather colors in the market. You would just find black and brown
yeah.
and navy blue if you were lucky, army green and gray. But there was nothing like coral or aquamarine, and all the colors that women like. But over the years, that has evolved. When I first started, it was men that were selling leather in the market. Today, if you go to Mushin, a lot of people selling leather are women. Their
Mm,
husbands have allowed their wives to join them or even take over aspects of the leather business. So now you find beautiful jewel colors, name it, rainbow colors, any color almost you could find in the market today. There are different textures of leather, different finishing in leather, that make it really exciting for you to design and produce today. So components, then so like I said about the workmen, it was difficult to find. So what I had to do was sort of like train my own people. They would come in at a particular level, they would come in at a particular minimum entry level, and then we just begin to work with them. And so the way I figured it in my mind is this is my own research and development. So I'll get them,
mm,
I'll work with them, upskill them, and essentially just sit down with them and say, look, this is where you did this wrong. This is where I'll do it again. It costs me money, and
mm,
time and effort, but we just had to do it. So today we have a few of them that are really quite good, experienced and all of that, and then we're benefiting from that. But then the business keeps growing larger, so we have to again bring in more people. And then, of course, as some people come in, some are exiting for one reason or the other. So we have to keep
mm.
expanding the team and all of that. So that's it. or that's some of it.
Okay. Do you have any challenges exporting your products? Do you export your shoes? Do you have customers outside of the country?
Yes, I have customers outside the country.
Mm.
I have individuals who, the Japa syndrome. Some people who were already my
Yeah.
customers, they moved abroad. They still order shoes from us. They still buy from us. Some people, Monamatives is on their list of things to do when they come home on holiday, or if somebody is coming,
Mm.
they will ask them to, Then we have our WhatsApp catalog that we keep sending out, and people can order, and they get shipped to them wherever they are in the world. So that's what we do for now.
Okay. Okay. Is the African market a market that you are looking at? Do you have clients in African countries? Is it a market that you are looking at actively?
The African market is an interesting market. It's my after my Nigerian market, the African market is the next market for me, simply because in most African countries we have summer all year round, and our
Mm.
styling is tilted more towards summer. Some shoes you can wear in this kind of climate.
Mm.
Secondly, because of how we dress, if you look at our tagline, we call ourselves the African style. So even though I don't make shoes with a lot of um, African material, I make shoes to suit African dressing. Do you get what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
do the shoe and set thing for when you're having a formal African event where you do your
Mm.
gele, your wrappers, and so the shoe and bag goes with that. And then for the men, we do the loafers and the proper shoes that go with our traditional outfits. Even if it's your casual buba and shokoto, there's a way that you can wear your half loafers, and things like that. So we design to suit the lives of our target market. We actually sit down and imagine what would my customer want to wear on a Sunday morning to church, what would they wear on a Friday afternoon to the mosque, what would they wear to work on Monday, what would they wear on Friday to work when they're dressing down, those kind of things. What would they wear to a wedding on a Saturday morning? What would
Mm.
what would you wear when your daughter is the one getting married, or your son is the one getting married? So we design with that in mind. And even people who are getting married abroad, you find that they're coming here to shop for different things, and our shoes and bags are parts of what they're shopping for.
Okay, so your designs are they're customer centric. Your designs are not just wide designs, they are designs that are tailored to the needs of the customers. That's training. Is there any training program that you can recommend for those people? Are there any recommendations of trainings that they can attend? Or for those who just want to play in the leather value chain, what are some pointers that you can give to them as someone who has been in this industry for a while?
Um, I actually coach people who want to work in the leather industry.
Okay.
In that, I actually do one-on-one coaching for them.
Hmm.
Um, I I and what I do is I tell them personally, I don't make the shoes and the
Hmm.
bags myself. And if you are an educated person and an enlightened person, I don't recommend that you do that either. I teach them how
Hmm.
I build my team, teach them the business of industry, how to run a leather business, and I try and balance both sides, the practical side with the the business side of the whole thing. So I do that because, to be honest, there's no one place where you can learn all of that. If you understand what I'm
Hmm.
saying, there's no one
Yeah.
place. But I have taught and coached and mentored a few people, you know. And then I always recommend that you do a business course because I know that
Hmm.
that's one of the advantages that I have had, even for people who have learned how to make shoes and bags by themselves, that's not enough. And you find that a lot of people that when they start and then they stop and they crash, and they get out of the business is because they've not even learned how to run a business properly. There's more to life than just knowing how to make things. You have to understand
Hmm.
business and how to keep a business afloat and profitable for a long
Hmm.
period of time.
Okay. So for those who are interested in working in the leather value chain, she coaches people in this regard. So you can always reach out, and I'm sure she'll be happy to coach you. But I advise that you are serious about it. Don't just come because you want to while away time. Okay, you have a showroom in Lagos. Where's the showroom? I think I know where it is, but you can still tell us.
My showroom is on Elizade, is it
Right.
Elizade Toyota
Right.
Plaza? It's right
Yes.
on Ikorodu Road at
Good.
Antony on
Yes.
your way
Yes.
towards Ikeja. It's a Toyota showroom building where they sell Toyota cars, and my showroom is there on top of EcoBank.
Okay. I know where it is. There was a day I was passing by and I saw it. I was like, this showroom is here. So for anyone who is watching this, her showroom is on Ikorodu Road, Mona Matthews. It's that Toyota Elizade building. You can always go in there if you want to pick up a ready to wear, or you can go in there and place your orders. You can also follow her on and place your orders as you'd like. Of course, when you go to Mona Matthews NG, you'll be able to see all well, not all the designs, but some of the
It's off.
designs. A lot of designs, right? So some of the designs, I know there was one I saw one time. You call it loafers or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
it's yes. So there are quite a number of beautiful and eye-catching designs that you can get from Mona Matthews. And she said something about her clients sometimes have worn the shoes for years. You can even do a revamp. Okay, so the revamp, is it only the shoes you have made that you revamp, or people can actually bring in their shoes for revamp?
Well, people can bring their shoes in for revamp. So after COVID, we realized that a lot of people had their shoes getting spoiled just by found out we revamp other people's shoes, but we ask that they be good quality. So when you bring them in, we'll assess them and tell them whether we think it's worth your while or not for us to revamp them. But we revamp, we do that. Yeah.
Okay. There's a last question. Do you also make shoes for children? So we talked about men, we talked about women. I'm not sure we mentioned children. Do you make shoes for children?
It's children. Okay.
Okay.
When I first started, I had shoes for King's College Youth in Abuja, and we designed their school shoes and we made their shoes for them for a number of years. When I did the math, it wasn't worth my while. to make shoes on order, And so the people who have, again, like I said, experienced the brand, they come to us for their children's shoes, but we don't do ready to wear for school shoes. You have to order. And when you order, we make your children's shoes like 2 sizes bigger, and we fill them in with a shoe pad, and the children wear them until they get small. Then you take out the shoe pad for us to do that for them. Then, of course, we have customers whose children are 11, 12, but they are already wearing size 44, size 45. Talking about male and female children, they have inherited large feet from their parents, and things like that. So we make shoes for them. Really small sizes, all sizes. We actually do all sizes. But we realize that we have a niche in the
Okay, so the children are not left out. So I like the fact that you make it 2 sizes bigger. When you said that, I was like, wow, I like that idea. Like, so that means that by next term we're not having to change shoes.
No.
You can wear the shoes for a long time, because sometimes it can be really, really let me not say annoying, when you buy a pair of shoes and 6 months later
The
you have
child
to
was
buy
outgrown.
another one,
Yes.
especially if the child particularly likes that shoe and you're trying to explain that this shoe can't
You can't
fit
wear
any longer, you
anymore.
can't wear it any longer. But the idea of 2 sizes and packing it until your feet grows to that size is
Yes.
just very, very excellent. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Ma, for joining us this
Thank you.
evening. I am very, very happy that you could
Thank
join
you.
us. Thank you for coming. You have done excellently well in your industry, and we look forward to many more years of your work. We look forward to seeing your showrooms in other countries of the world. And just go and pose and say that we are Nigerian, she's our Nigerian sister. And thank you so much. So follow her on IG at Mona Matthews. Visit her store on Ikorodu Road. Place your order for designer shoes and bags. The shoes, a lot of people are particular about some kinds of brands, right? But this is a brand that you can trust. This is a brand that delivers, and we're excited for you to follow her and place your orders with her. Weddings, events, school shoes, leather bags, shoe and bag, women, all of that. So thank you again so
Yes.
much, Ma. Thank you so
Thank you.
much
Thank
for
you for having
joining
me.
our live.
Yes.
So we'll be back next week with another value-added product from Africa. Thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Adetokunbo Adewoyin. Until I come your way again next week, I encourage you to think African and buy African. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night, everyone. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Thank you
Good
so
night.
much. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Ma. Good night, Ma. Bye.
All right. Good night. Bye.
Good night, Ma.